Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends, and welcome back to Boggy Bottom Zoo. Today, I am your host, Leaf. It's always so great to have you guys back here for another episode. So, today we are taking it back to our Australia area, our little Outback Adventures area, and we're getting to work on quite a beautiful animal. Now, I was kind of debating what to actually throw in this habitat over here, but I kind of settled on the Cassowary. I really haven't built for these guys in the longest time, and I felt like the kangaroo would have been kind of a more boring choice, so I'm kind of happy that I went with these guys because they have a really interesting habitat. We should probably talk about like my inspiration behind it. I don't know, I was just freeballing it. But in all seriousness, I really wanted to give them like a nice habitat with a lot of water going on, because this is probably our only non-semi-aquatic species, along with the dingo and I guess the koala. Okay, listen, it's in Australia, it's Australian section, so it makes sense. But I really want to give them nice water elements, nothing too deep, but something that they would be able to, like, you know, kind of like sink their toes in or something. Just do whatever ratites do. I don't really know. I'm not a ratite expert, but no, I wanted to give them a nice little area, and they even have a nice little waterfall, so we have all that happening right there, and it looks pretty good in the end. They don't really have the biggest habitat, but cassowaries don't really need the biggest habitats in the world, so we kind of get along with all that jazz right there, just making sure that they are all happy and set. And I'm very happy with the viewing galleries for this area, so we should also talk about those. I really want to have this nice glass viewing gallery that gets you right up and close to the cassowaries. They are very scary animals in real life, and kind of in Planet Zoo too. They look kind of menacing, but so I really want to have you guys get right up and close with them, and they look really cool from the glass as well. They get their food right at the glass as well, so they can they oftentimes spend a lot of time over there, and they also spend some time in the back, which I noticed didn't really have the best view from that viewing area down there, so I kind of made a new one that's kind of like located up on the top of it instead. I really love how well that came out. I don't know, it just looks pretty funky in the end, so I'm excited for you guys to check that out. We also do have B-roll in this episode. I know it's quite a shock, but I do include that this time around, so you can see me working on that little bit of a viewing area right there. Just nothing crazy. It's two big circles for the viewing areas. I really do like that kind of style. And I don't know, it's just very nice and very fun to get these nice larger areas for guests to kind of explore and stuff. I don't know, I just really am satisfied with how well the layout of this entire place came out. It's just very awesome just to get back in here and like do some nice animal builds I haven't really built for before, which I guess is kind of like the entire purpose of this entire zoo, which, you know, we had 8 new animals which we haven't built for before. And don't forget, I haven't forgotten about the Japanese macaques just yet. Sorry if the audio is a little weird. I'm grabbing my charger right now. But, no, I have those guys on the docket. I also have the saltwater crocodiles, which are going to get a beautiful, beautiful habitat all to themselves. As well as a big coliseum, a crocoseum, if you will. And that's all going to be really fun to play with right back there. But making our way throughout here and just making sure that we can get this little viewing area, not viewing area, but holding area for the cassowaries all set. Nothing crazy, very much on brand with the rest of the Australian section. Gotta use all the corrugated metal, which it's kind of like a staple in the Planet Zoo community now for doing like Australian sections kind of like that. Really haven't seen anyone do anything too different from that, so that's kind of fun just to, you know, see, witness, do all that stuff with. So we kind of make our way throughout with all of that, and we also do a little bit more of like terrain work up here. Our cassowaries, unfortunately, were escaping up there, but we kind of make note of that later. By the way, always put your animals down before you actually build for them, because it gives you such a better sense of scale. I'm glad I did it for this habitat, because you make the habitat just right for them, just enough room to explore, but also not too big to the point where you kind of like lose track of them and lose sight of them. So I think that works pretty well as well. And we also do some fence work over there. We're using the same fences from the dingo habitat as well as the platypus habitat, and we're also going to use that same kind of color scheme, like that maroon and pink and salmon kind of color, all throughout the rest of the habitats for the Australian section as well. I'm not sure if we're going to include any other animals besides the koala slash, I guess you can count the saltwater crocodile in there as well, but I don't know, we'll certainly see with all that stuff. I really haven't planned that far in advance yet, but I think we're sticking with the animals that we have on the roster right now. I would have loved to have gotten more in here, but I'm kind of happy that we're leaving it as is, and we're not really going too crazy with that. Also using some beautiful rockwork blueprints that I got from the workshop as well, because hey, I don't want to do rockwork myself. So you guys can find that. Just look up temperate rock structure or something, you should be able to find them. We'll find a good place to dedicate the owner or creator of that blueprint later down the line. But in the meantime, we're working on that viewing gallery right here. I really wanted something kind of funky this time around, but I really didn't want to work on roofing. Again, because roofing is the single scariest thing you could actually do in this game, especially when it's custom roofing. So I kind of make my way throughout it with, like, you know, a little bit of implied roofing, some shade structures, but we'll get there when we actually do get there. Again, going throughout the entire exhibit, as well as the surrounding parts to actually make these beautiful, beautiful planted areas. This very much reminds me, I don't know why, but if you guys were watching Sugar Pine Zoo, this kind of reminds me of the grizzly bear habitat. That really does stick in my head with, like, I don't know how familiar this foliage is. It felt like it was like built against a cliffside, and you had like all this beautiful deep green foliage up top. I really miss it. Maybe we should do a season 2 of that. I don't know. We'll see that when we get there. But kind of working on throughout here and just making sure that these small nooks and crannies are accounted for. And just going on throughout the entire thing and using our hydrilla grass because it looks really nice when you're like nice and far away from it. And also using the polypsis bushes. Again, once you guys determine like a nice palette for your zoo, it all starts to flow together and it's really awesome. I think I'm gonna try and integrate another ghost gum grove over here as well. Try saying that 5 times fast. But no, I really want to integrate one of those over here just to give it a little bit more color, a little bit more pop, because I really love like the effect that it gave on the other half of the zoo, that I feel like getting another one over here would be wicked awesome to have. But what we're working on over here are pacing trails. Unfortunately, I like to say this every single time, animals sometimes pace in zoos, and especially cassowaries, which are kind of destructive and heavy creatures. They would make a lot more deeper pacing trails than anything else, and that's essentially where animals walk to the point where it starts to like tear up the grass and stuff. So we have all that come into play right there, and you can see us kind of work around it. I usually like to do loops and then put foliage in the middle of them, kind of like they're going around this kind of bigger grove of foliage. That's kind of like how I like to determine them, but hey, you guys kind of play around with it on your own. Just pop in Planet Zoo right now, build yourself your own little exhibit and try playing around with like these small realism kind of inquiries and stuff like that. What I'm also doing over here is also adding a little bit more crowberry bushes. These guys are my favorites, and they bring such a nice pop of color into your zoos as well. I really didn't use these guys at the start because I felt kind of fatigued with them after a little bit. I think in our last few zoos we've been using them a lot. But no, I really wanted to circle back to them and start to use them again because they're really nice and bright. What I'm also doing over here is bringing in that wetlands foliage. Always got to make sure that we're in the little swampy area, so we kind of have the reeds everywhere, we have the cattails everywhere as well, and we also put in some cypress trees and the other trees that we got in the wetlands pack. I honestly forget what they're called, the topio trees, I think, and we do a couple of big ones right over there and right over there. I feel like the cassowaries would love a nice dark exhibit because they are relatively shy animals. In fact, we probably shouldn't even have 2 of them in the same exhibit over here because they really don't get exhibited with like pairs or anything like that. They're relatively solitary creatures unless if you are trying to breed them. But listen, that'll be our little secret. No one needs to know. Let's just say that Boggy Bottom has their ways with their cassowaries. So we kind of have all that coming into play right there, and we also get to work on that little viewing structure that I was talking about earlier. I would have loved to have made this wicked nice, wicked angular and stuff like that, but unfortunately it just wasn't in the cards. I really wasn't feeling it. But we kind of do something fun with it nonetheless. There's always a way to make it look nice, and we kind of have it be kind of like, I don't know, very organic. I tend to use, I think I use some like cloth hanging cloth and stuff like that. I think that came out pretty well for this one in particular, so we kind of have all that coming into play. But essentially working on the rest of the habitat and the rest of the surrounding area, making sure that everything looks nice, everything looks clean. And I think I may or may not include it, but I do a lot of curb work over here. One of the biggest deterrences of curb work for me is the fact that sometimes I love to build on angles. In fact, that's all the time. Don't even look at Riverbend Discovery Center when I say that. That'll get me in trouble with the zoo. But anyways, just working on like angles is so fun. Working on like inclines, it really pays off. And it's a little bit difficult when you do get into like custom curbing, but it's so worth it in the end because it really does help to bring an entire area up just a few notches to the fact that it feels so lived in, so realistic. And I don't know, I really do like it to begin with. What I'm also working on over here is some more viewing structure detailing, just making sure that all this stuff looks nice, making sure that, you know, it's all nice and clean. But making our way through this all, just making sure that everything feels nice and secure. And we kind of work on that in just a little bit, and I really did just want to group all these up. Always work in groups, by the way, because you'll regret it if you don't. I'm gonna be completely honest. Always work in groups. It always helps the flow of building so much more. And I don't know, I just really do like it because of that. So we kind of work on that a little bit more, and we double that up on each other, and we do add some bamboo kind of like accent pieces in here. Yep, we do that right there, and it looks so good to begin with. And we kind of stagger it a little bit so it always feels like it's moving, if that makes sense. So we kind of play around with that a little bit more. It's just really nice. Adding it again on this side over here, and yeah, that's about it. I'm kind of tired, if you guys can't tell. Long day. But kind of just making our way through this all, just making sure that everything feels nice, everything feels clean. And here we go onto the actual, like, kind of canopy. I should probably go back and redo some of this. Maybe give it a little bit more different effects. Maybe I could do kind of like what I did in Sugar Pine and do like some garbage up there and like barrels and stuff. But I'm not really sure. We'll definitely see that come into play when we actually do get to that point, but kind of working on some other ones as well, just trying to get like these maybe like diamond shaped ones into play over here. I don't know, I'm just very big fan of how well this came out to begin with. And yeah, I don't know, it's just such a meh enclosure, kind of like area, I guess. Like, we kind of had so much fun to begin with in Boggy Bottom. I guess this is kind of like a little bit of a retrospective right here, but kind of making our way throughout here, just making sure that it feels a lot more secure. But I do miss, like, the big exhibits, and I feel like once we actually do get into, like, you know, the Japanese macaque spot, and then once we get into the Crocoseum, it'll really kick up a notch, and it'll feel like the end of Sugar Pine again. Like, that was such an awesome build right there, and I had so much fun with, like, the ending of that entire series that I think we'll hit our stride again relatively soon. But making our way throughout here and just making sure that everything else looks pretty good to begin with. And I don't know, I'm just very happy and satisfied with how well all of this came out. And just adding a little bit more detail and work throughout here, just making sure that cassowaries aren't able to escape out that little bit right there. It would be very impressive if they could, but just taking those extra safety precautions just to make sure that they don't really do that. And also adding some plaster floor down here. I do add vents back there because, again, you gotta make sure that their habitats are clean. But we're essentially coming up on our beautiful little b-roll, so I do want to thank you guys one last time for stopping by. In case if you guys are new here, welcome. I always do love seeing new people show up. It really is amazing to have all of you guys stop by. But in case if you guys are also new and you enjoy what you saw, be sure to hit the like button, maybe even comment, and even consider subscribing. It really does help me out, and we're so close to 7,000 subscribers, guys. I can't believe that. So that'll be really awesome to actually, like, you know, have a little bit of another, like, 7K subscriber party or something like that on a live stream. But all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Take care and have the most wonderful of wonderful days. Bye-bye now.